Hello guys, my name is Rastility, and today I'm going to be talking about Forgotten Towers in TDS. Forgotten Towers are towers that are forgotten by the community, or even forgotten by the developers, because no one remembers them. Some of the towers on this list you might remember, but do you actually think about them? Anyways, I'm gonna stop yapping and get on to the first Forgotten Tower. I hope you enjoy. First off, we have this Forgotten Tower, which you might not even know existed if you just started playing in 2025. This tower is the Harvester. Now, this tower was released fairly recently, being released on October 30th, 2024. Even though this tower is a recent release, that still doesn't mean it's unforgotten, because no one, and I mean no one, talks about this tower, and for good reason. Let me explain. This tower really is just not good at anything. This tower has terrible DPS that's even outclassed by Militant. He's actually just unreasonably expensive, doesn't even have hidden detection, and just doesn't even have a lot of range, considering the fact that every other aspect of this tower is garbage except for his ability. His ability does 60 DPS, which is more DPS than the actual tower itself. It slows down enemies and can be used anywhere on the map. However, this ability has a 40-second cooldown. When you see the underwhelming stats on this tower, you really start to understand why this tower doesn't ever get talked about. It really makes you question whether or not getting this tower was worth it, considering the fact that the Hexscape event was fairly challenging. Second off, we got another spooky Forgotten Tower. However, this time around, it's not from a Halloween event, it's from Pizza Party. This tower is the Warden. Now, the Warden has really weird history, because it has evolved from one of the best early game towers to one of the most mid and unused towers in the game. This tower is not exactly bad, however, it's not really good either. This is because while he does have crazy DPS, he just can barely even use it at all due to his 7 range as a melee tower. So even though he might have more DPS than a tower like Minigunner or Ranger, he's just not as good because he won't be doing damage for a majority of the time. However, his stunning ability at level 3 and higher is said to make up for this, as while he may not be the greatest to use for DPS, he could be used for stunning, and Electroshocker already beats him. Electroshocker outpaces Warden completely in the regard of stunning, as while he may stun for just 1 second less, he can hit up to 8 enemies at once with his stun while also dropping defense, while also being able to hit every single enemy in the game. So if he's outclassed by other DPS towers because of his low range, and he's outclassed by other stalling towers because they're just simply better, then why would you ever use him? This is precisely why when you queue up, you'll never see anyone actually using Warden. Oh yeah, he's also just really expensive too, like 330k expensive, which is just not worth getting when he's completely outpaced. Third up, we got another Forgotten Tower, which is also in the main game, not an event tower. This tower is the Necromancer, who's one of the only 5 hardcore towers in the game. However, when people see the hardcore tab, this tower might as well be invisible because no one ever uses this tower. However, it's just not because he's a bad tower, he's actually a pretty good tower. He has hidden detection, flight detection, he has technically lead detection, he can do pretty good damage, and also targets multiple enemies at once and has Pierce in the earlier levels. So why is he never used? Well, because he's overall just kind of a goofy tower. Like, why would you ever use this tower despite how good it is? There's no reason to take this tower over a standard DPS tower, especially when it's so expensive. In my opinion, this tower doesn't even fall under any sort of class. It's not support, it's not sub-support, it's not early game DPS, it's not exactly a late game or mid game DPS, so I guess it's just a sub DPS or technically a main DPS. It's also worth mentioning that this tower specializes in summoning, but it doesn't exactly consistently summon units. It only summons a horde of units when you use the ability, but once all the units from the ability have been killed, your tower's just a sitting duck who's basically gonna be doing nothing. Especially in the later levels where it takes ages to get your max gravestone. Overall, this tower is clearly forgotten, as you'll never see anyone use it. The balancers haven't exactly forgotten it yet, as it did receive balance changes recently, so let's hope it'll receive more buffs to live up to other hardcore towers as well. Fourth up, we got a tower you will definitely recognize, as this tower is constantly memed on by the community. However, this tower is a tower that the developers have completely forgotten, as he currently has one of the most outdated models in the game while also bearing by far the worst stats in the game. This tower is Paintballer. This tower costs 9,000 cash to fully max out while providing 24 DPS. Yikes. His low placement cost makes him an early game tower, yet he provides absolutely atrocious DPS, being 1.24 DPS. This tower has absolutely nothing. He has no damage, no range, incredibly high cost, and is easily the worst tower in the game right now. At this point, I don't know if the developers have just agreed that Paintballer should be the worst tower in the game, as there's a lot of irony in his store description, being, quote, "Usually paintball guns aren't really useful in the apocalypse, but apparently this one is." This tower has been forgotten, left in the dust, and will probably stay like that for a while, as there have been absolutely no recent signs that this tower will be receiving any sort of rework or rebalance. Now, fifth and finally, we have one last tower, that being one of the only true summoning towers in the game. I bet you can guess it just from that. We have the Elf Camp Tower. This, military base, and mercenary base are the only true summoning towers in the game and doing absolutely nothing but summoning, excluding the 20% damage buff of mercenary base. Elf Camp is arguably one of, if not the only completely forgotten tower in TDS, with absolutely no one discussing it and the developers trapping it in the dungeon. At this point, this tower's been fully left behind in the current meta, doing absolutely nothing at all in any of the recently reworked modes. His only really insane feat is that he's disgustingly cheap, costing 30k in total, but that's about it. The units for this tower have absolutely no HP, don't do any DPS, and each unit takes a considerable amount of time to spawn. It is safe to say that Elf Camp is forgotten. And that's about it for the forgotten towers in TDS. If you enjoyed this video,